Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Jarrell. I'm here to introduce you to the Lumix line of lasers. Today we're focusing on a Lumix 45 watt Superpulsed laser and the different models within that series. So in the 45 watt, we have the portable frame, which can be set upon any type of cart system, and it can also be carried with you when you want to be more mobile or to use it more in a field type situation. The Lumix 45 watt comes in three different models. One is the Lumix 2, the Lumix 3, and then the Lumix 4. What each one of those models implies is that the Lumix 2 has two lasers built in it. None of these lasers are single, they're multiple laser units. The Lumix 3 has 3 lasers and the Lumix 4 has 4 lasers. If we look at the Lumix 2, it has the 650 visible red and it has the 910 not visible infrared Superpulsed lasers. So the 910 is considered a cold laser. That is that it can produce high peak powers of 45 watts in this case without overheating or heating tissue. So at 45 watts Superpulse, you'll have marginal, if any, tissue heating. The benefit of Superpulse laser, well above continuous wave alone, is that it allows you to stay on a deep target anywhere from a couple, 2-3 centimeters to inches, 4 to 6 inches, without generating heat that causes you to pull away or have to move off of your target continuously. So Superpulse lasers' benefit is exceptional. In comparison, continuous wave lasers alone are obsolete. But in conjunction with Superpulse, then continuous wave lasers are actually enhanced or amplified in their capabilities. So if we look at the Lumix 45 watt laser, we're looking at the 3 models, 2, 3, and 4. So the Lumix 2 again has 650 and 910 nanometers. And the 650 is known for its beneficial effect on heme or blood. So in a 650 visible laser, it's great for treating within 2 to 3 centimeters of depth, and it is great for treating vascular or arterial flow to a region of a problem or a lesion or a condition. So using the 650 is very beneficial for superficial tissue, that is, we define as 2 to 3 centimeters. The 910 nanometer is a good general all connective tissue from nerve, tendon, ligaments, muscle, cartilage, bone, etc. So it's a good all around, and the 910 also produces the lowest amount of heat when it interacts or when it is absorbed by different tissues within the body. With the 910, when it's combined with high frequency, which these units provide, more than any other unit on the market, these Lumix lasers will produce frequency ranges from 1 to 100,000 pulses per second. The higher the pulse rate, the greater the penetration. The higher the power, the greater the penetration. When you combine those two, you get the benefits of both in terms of depth of penetration. With a cold laser Superpulse design, you can actually put the treatment aperture directly against the skin without actually heating the tissue up or the skin up. That's a significant innovation in laser therapy, whereas traditional continuous wave, as you go up in power, you have to pull away from the tissue to keep from burning that tissue. So when you choose a laser, the wavelengths you choose are determined by the tissues that you're trying to affect. When you choose the power of a laser, the power that you're limited to with a continuous wave before you start to burn tissue is only 2 to 3 watts. When you're choosing a Superpulse laser, then because of the high frequencies, you actually now can have higher powers, 45 watts, 100 watts, 250 watts, and not burn tissue, even at the surface, with the aperture against the skin. So the beauty of the Superpulse is high power and no thermal risk of damage or liability. When do we want to use thermal? We want to use it in conditions that have muscle spasms or muscle recovery, where we want to increase vasodilation and diathermy within those tissues and control that amount of heat. So muscle responds well to that. But on the other hand, nerve tissue is irritated by heat when it's in an inflammatory state, such as in neuropathies and neuritis. So you want to be able to shut that temperature down by using Superpulse features. So neurology, the brain, any component of nerve tissue typically doesn't respond. It's aggravated by thermal buildup or thermal thresholds, in excess of thermal thresholds. So when we're talking about higher powers, in this case not milliwatts and not 1, 2, 3 watts, but 45 watts, what we're looking for in that is why the higher power? Because higher power lets me treat deeper and faster, so that my treatment times are reduced significantly. The high frequency is very important. Most 99.9% of continuous wave lasers don't exceed 20,000 pulses per second. Most are in the 10,000 pulses per second. It happens to be that in research, when you exceed 40,000 pulses per second, then you start to generate or to trigger what's called gene expression. You go from the benefits that you have with all lasers, photochemical benefits, mitochondrial, ATP production, other chromophore biochemical pathways stimulated, and you move into photomechanical. When you raise your frequency with a laser unit to about 40,000, then you start to mechanically vibrate RNA and DNA so that it actually operates faster. And then you couple that with more energy, and so you have a more efficient tissue repair, tissue regeneration mechanism. The Superpulse benefits then far exceed a continuous wave in and of itself. But when you combine it with a continuous wave, then you can actually, with the Superpulse, these units, you can take continuous wave up to the same frequencies, and it's called synchronization. So if I have this set at 40,000 pulses per second, the Superpulse is operating at that, then my 810 or my 1064 nanometer continuous wave, I can also synchronize that at 40,000 pulses per second. And in doing that, I can actually put more energy into the tissue without the normal thermal buildup if I could only use 10,000 pulses per second, etc. So controlling your energy, knowing what your target tissue is, knowing what wavelengths affect it, and knowing that the unit will cover all of that is the most beneficial aspect of the Lumix line. There are no other lasers that even approach that. All Lumix lasers have coding that allows you to prevent unwanted users to access it. On the Lumix touchscreen feature, which can be by finger or stylus included with it, we have a menu system that once we input our security code to keep others from accessing it for liability purposes, we have option of protocols, and then we have free protocols, meaning that I can pull up the screen and select any set of parameters that I want. And then we have find particular information. There's video capability on this. There's a training video in it to describe it as well, that all can be accessed and viewed from the screen. We also can create our own protocols that I might want to use for acute conditions or chronic conditions. Therefore, when I want to create a set of parameters or protocols, I can set up a series of protocols and just define them as the condition that I'm treating. This makes it very easy for your staff to use, very easy for accessing protocols specific to your needs within your type of practice. It has an optical port on the side that we can actually test to see if the unit is outputting according to its manufactured specifications. User protocols allows me to go in and access my user protocols. In this case, I have examples on vagal nerve treatment, general high power, high frequency for degenerative joint, etc. And I can scroll through and look at different programs. I can actually put even a name of a person or initials, and maybe that's the program I'm using for that particular person. Home button takes me back. I can go into free protocols, and in this case it pulls up a screen that allows me to select a variety of parameters. Parameters include my frequency. So if I'm set, it defaults to 20,000 pulses per second. I can take that up to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, and 100,000 pulses per second. I can also take it down to as low as 1 hertz or 1 pulse per second. So I can change that and set it according to what my intentions are or my needs are. So if I'm looking, additionally, if I'm looking at, once I have my frequency in there, I can take my superpulse or my continuous wave, which would be the 810 and the 1064, and I can synchronize it with my superpulse at 500 hertz in this case. I can synchronize it and it will be in sync with it. I can also turn it on so that it's continuous the whole time, so it has a full-time duty cycle. That gives me more joules or more energy, but at the same time may produce more thermal buildup and not allow it to go deep enough or deep as I would like to. If I want to turn on my visible red or turn it off or set its frequency to up to 10 hertz, so I can pulse the visible red from full time on to 10 pulses per second. And if I want to then control my superpulse, or not my superpulse, but my continuous wave component, then I can simply select the power for continuous wave. And in this unit, this is a 5 watt continuous. They come in 8 watt and I think 11 watts as well, depending on what combination you're choosing. And it defaults to 1 watt. I can take that up to 5 watts or turn it off completely so I have no continuous wave other than the visible. And then I actually, again, can select the red 650 visible and turn it off completely. Combined wattage in this system is approximately up to 50 watts, the 45 superpulse and the 5 watts continuous. And our combined frequency runs between 1 and 100,000 pulses. And our time can run to whatever time setting you would like, and this defaults to 10 minutes. Additional features of the Lumix 45 is the treatment aperture head is connected to a extra long fiber optic cable embedded in or protected by a metal sheath coated with rubber that is extremely strong and resists damage and long life and durable as well. So you have an adjustable aperture. The aperture is removable, and being removable, there is the dental specific aperture that clips on. The aperture focal point is smaller and allows in dentistry for you to get, and you can see the fine point of treatment. And when you synchronize your continuous wave, you actually reduce its heat production and carry more energy into the tissue faster. The unit uses a foot switch for off and on, and that's convenient. That allows the therapist to work without continually happening to hold a button on, and that reduces ergonomic problems over time. This concludes a quick introduction to the Lumix 2, 3, or 4 model 45 watt series, and highlights the design features, the design benefits, and the technical or the actual practical use.